So Sam, welcome. Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much for coming back again to be with us here at Property Sisters, because you ran a really useful session for us during lockdown about, well, June 2020 it was. I look back at it, and that was with the fabulous Amy Rowlinson and other Property Sisters. That was a really useful session, and actually it's probably been one of our most popular videos on the YouTube channel, so it's had loads and loads of views and hits. So we all thought at Property Sisters it would be great to get you back on again, because you deliver so much value each time, and further the conversation, because we all have so many questions all the time around LinkedIn. So just for everyone who's already here, Sam, in that first session, we'll put a link to that session underneath this, covered so much. It was presentation style. You covered how to use LinkedIn effectively. Just being on LinkedIn isn't the same thing as using it effectively. You covered your different social selling strategies, SSI, social selling index, and how you can use that to improve performance. Prospecting, Boolean search, your equation V plus C equals 0 or O, whichever way you want to look at it. So there was loads and loads there in your 15-minute a day system. So lots and lots of stuff. So is there anything you want to add to that before we sort of move on to...
No, not at all. I mean, obviously, I'll probably recover some of the things that we touched on in the last presentation, because if you're watching this for the first time, firstly, if you haven't done that, go watch that first, because it will give you the good foundation. But I probably will touch on some of those things that we covered in the first session, just as more of a recap, really. So, yeah.
So that's great. So there's some Property Sisters on here. So after our discussion, I'll take a look in the chat box. If you... Property Sisters that are here, you've got your questions, and I'll come to them at the end, because we've got quite a few questions to get through already with Sam, if that's okay with everyone. So I'm a Property Sister, and as you will know, we have a LinkedIn support pod, and there's over 40 of us, and I set that up back in January, February 2020. So we've been going for about a year now. And one of the things that you mentioned in that first session is that sometimes LinkedIn frowns upon, I don't know if that was the right term, on support pods, and can sometimes penalize them. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on support pods and how we can maximize what we do in the support pod without detracting from our performance. Now, we have a WhatsApp group where when we post on LinkedIn, we post the link in the WhatsApp group, and then we all support each other. We have a sister swarm on a particular day on a Wednesday at 9 o'clock, which is where we all try and support each other within an hour. And then another post throughout the week where it's not necessarily all going to be happening at the same time when we support each other's posts. So just wanted to get your views on support pods, really, Sam.
Yeah, so I'm not the biggest fan of support pods. It really depends on how they're being managed. It sounds like you've got quite organized in yours. So there are lots out there, a lot of people actually selling membership to pods and things like that for like 100 quid a month. There's a lot of people jumping on this. Most LinkedIn experts, and I'm one of them, are not like huge fans, because if you're putting out good quality content, you shouldn't need to have to trick the algorithm or jump on each other's posts to help. I mean, LinkedIn has cottoned on to this as well, and it is looking at, are you getting the same old people commenting on every single post? And you will get penalised for that if that starts to happen. I have been in one myself. I wasn't an active member, but I was in a WhatsApp group. I never participated in it. But their system was that they had this like a rota, and it was kind of like one person per each day. And it was not like everybody posts everybody's links. Because I think, as well, from your credibility perspective, like, you don't want to have to be posting and commenting on a post if it isn't something that aligns with you, or if it isn't a post that you're like, actually, would I really comment on that post? So I think having maybe some kind of rota system, or just not doing it every single time on every single post, but having like maybe one person a week that's like the featured person for that week or that day, for example, might work. But I'm not the biggest fan. And a year ago, yes, I'd have been like, yeah, they work, but LinkedIn's definitely clamped down on them a lot over the last 6 months. So I'd be a bit cautious about how much you're using them, and I'd be careful about how you manage it.
Yeah, I've been in a support pod before with a whole diverse range of businesses in there, and it was quite tricky there because they were unrelated businesses.
Yeah.
Whereas what I think works really well with the Property Sisters is, well, it's all about reciprocity, where we're all supporting each other, and there's no that it's not a charge for group at all.
Yeah,
but also we all can relate to each other's businesses because we're all in property.
yeah,
And I think the fact we have one day of the week where we are sort of focused on that one day, and then the rest is sort of spread out a little bit more during the week, perhaps that that might mitigate.
the other thing as well, I think there'll be some that are just like help on every post, and people, if you've got 40 people in there, are all 40 people actually doing what they're supposed to do? And usually the case is no. So have some accountability around it. Like if you don't participate when you're supposed to participate, then you shouldn't be able to get back what you're not giving to other people. So in other words, like the one I was in was that if you didn't participate in 3 of those asks, you were basically booted out. So in other words, like, there'll be people in that 40, and there'll be probably 20% of people that are like all over every post and they help everyone. But there's another 80% of the group that do it now and again and they don't actively participate. So how are you managing that? So that's what I would say with it.
Yeah. One of the other things, and that's really useful stuff, so thank you for that, Sam. One of the other things that we have endless discussions about is the algorithm. And you've already mentioned it there about trying to tick the algorithm. Is there a particular pattern or time frame or decent time to post or way of posting? Is there any clues or hints that you can give us about the algorithm, just your views on it?
Yeah, so the dreaded algorithm. There's been some recent research out that I'll share in the chat box with you girls that are on here at the moment. It's not done by me, it's done by another expert in social selling in the Netherlands. His name's Richard. He did some analysis back in the end of last year, December 2020, and he analysed with a whole team of people 4,500 posts that were put out at different times of day, different types of posts, etc. And he basically, off the back of that, created a new kind of insights report on the LinkedIn algorithm. So there's definitely been some kind of developments in terms of what's changed since I last was with you guys. And I'll give you some highlights of that, I guess. So the first thing is that the first 2 hours is now the most important thing after a post, not just the first hour. Okay. So there's a golden 2-hour window. From the analysis they've done, the best time of day to post is going to be between 8 and 10 in the morning. So earlier morning posts are doing better than ones later in the day. Obviously, babysitting a post for the first couple of hours is going to help you from an algorithm perspective. So don't just post and then disappear off to do something else or go to a meeting or whatever. Because if you can't babysit the post for those first couple of hours, i.e. respond to comments, reply to people, keep, liking and reacting to the reactions that are coming through, then you're effectively wasting the opportunity. So it's no longer a golden hour, it's a golden 2 hours. Minimum 7 words. I can't remember when we did back in June, minimum 7 words for engagement. So if you are going to ask people to comment on a post, or you're actively commenting on each other's posts to support each other, then again, use a minimum 7 words in that period of time, just because that gives LinkedIn, the algorithm looks at it and goes, well, that might be strong engagement if you're using. So the longer the comment or the discussion that's going on underneath, the better, really. A few other things. The SSI score, he has confirmed based on his research, definitely does impact your visibility on the newsfeed. So if you have an SSI score of above 75, you have 125% more visibility than someone that has less than 75. If your SSI score is 30 to 45, you're going to be 50% less visibility than somebody higher up. So there is now a direct link between you having a strong SSI score. And if you're watching this and you don't know what that is, just go to linkedin.com/sales/SSI and you'll get your score. But there is now a direct link between you having a high SSI and you getting better visibility on your posts. So that's part of the research as well. The algorithm changes all the time. I'm just trying to think of the other things that are in there. Let me just pop it in the chat box and then you guys can download it. Just 1 second for those of you that are in here. Your SSI doubled. Nice, Kate, after you implemented. Nice, I like it. some reason it's not letting me share the file. What I'll do is I'll pop it over to you afterwards. It's not letting me share the file.
Yeah, you probably need to make you co-host.
Yes, that's probably what it is actually. Can somebody actually make me co-host and then
let me have a look. Oh, we might be able to do it here. Don't know how many co-hosts you can have. I've just done it, so
yeah, perfect. For some reason it's not giving me the option to go to my normal files. Let me just go to Dropbox. Hang on 1 second. It might be in there, it might not. I don't think it is. I'll find it for you and I'll get it across to you. But there's definitely some what I'll do is I'll pull it up on my screen so I can make sure I cover everything, to make sure I've given you everything that you need to know. Hold on 1 sec.
Your usual value packed sessions.
Here we go, got it. Okay. So yeah, impact of SSI. So if you have an SSI of less than 30, you get 25% less visibility. If your SSI score is 30 to 45, you get 50% of the visibility of somebody with a higher. 45 to 60 is 75% visibility. And if you're in the 60 to 75 bracket, you're kind of getting the average amount of reach, so what you'd expect. But if you're 75 to 90, you're 125% higher visibility on your posts. So I've always said that 75 is the magic number, but now I've got research to back it up, which is good. So that's that piece. Hashtags, which we talked about.
I want you to talk about hashtags.
Is now 3 to 9 on a post is the optimum number of hashtags on a post. Whereas before, LinkedIn was penalizing for too many, but now 3 to 9 is the optimum number. So you want to be focused on using between 3 and 9 hashtags. I would recommend having like some that are quite specific and niche, and then some that are bigger and followed by more people. So don't just go for the big ones because you think that you'll get more reach by having just hashtags with 100,000 followers. I would go for some more niche ones, and I would even think about like creating your own personalized hashtag for you as an individual. So like Amy, do you use Amy probably does. Yeah, I thought she might. Amy, what's your personalized hashtag that you use? Oh, you can't. You're on mute at the minute. Can you
focus on why?
Yeah, hashtag focus on why. Yeah, I thought it might be. So having one that links to your strapline or links to your business or links to your personal brand in some way, allows you to, and it doesn't even have to be a hashtag that's like the name of your business. So my sales manager, Leanne, she posts her own content. She does social selling every day of the week for our business, but what she does is she posts like a video every couple of weeks, and it's like a really solid, like her lessons. So she's now created the hashtag Leanne's lessons, so that if someone wants to see all of her videos that she posts, they can follow Leanne's lessons, and then they get notified each time that she's put one out, and she's more likely to pop up in the newsfeed. So at the end of the video, she says, if you want more of these lessons, then follow my hashtag Leanne's lessons, and I'll see you on the next video. So you can almost like create like a hashtag that people can follow that allows you to create ones. So yeah, absolutely. And mine's of course hashtag awesome. But yeah, so it could be for a specific project, it could be for a specific strap line, but I would recommend and asking people to follow that hashtag if they want more. So when you create content and put content out there, then I would also make that call to action within there. You could even do it when you're connecting with people as well, having those conversations in the inbox. I'm doing some work at the moment on like building my following. You can follow this if you want to get more tips and advice on this topic, for example.
That's great. So on hashtags, actually, one of the things that I do, sometimes I create posts in a note form or Word document and think about the hashtags to use. And then when I paste it through, sometimes the hashtags don't always become bold, when they've suddenly sort of got the traction. Will they still be picked up, even if they're sort of, not, how you put an at and then someone's name, and then it suddenly picks it up and then it engages and goes bold. And it's a similar thing with the hashtags, or does that not make any difference at all?
Yeah, sometimes they go bold, sometimes they don't. Usually it's to do with how followed that hashtag is and things like that. But I would, rather than the copy paste, because that can sometimes affect it, I would recommend, I've found this really cool little app and it's awesome, and I'm going to give it to you guys because it's changed my world on LinkedIn. So it's a little app called Text Expander, so TEXT Expander. And what it does is it allows you to create little snippets. So I've got a snippet that's called, I'm just going to use it in the chat box because it's epic. Hang on a second. Right, so I've just typed in my HT, which is my hashtags. And literally, like in a second, it's literally grab the snippet. So I'll do it again a bit faster because it was.
Yeah, no, we see it. We can see it there. All of your.
So I've literally
hashtags coming up.
created a snippet that's like, it's not all of my ones, but my core hashtags that I'd use on most things. So I've got like text, it's like $4 a month. It's no money whatsoever. And even for like responses to, like, I get, my inbox is crazy, right? I get so many people like, oh, I've read your book, right? Which is great. And I love getting those messages, right? Don't get me wrong. But like I get like 20 a day. So for me to sit there and like respond to every single one is really tricky. So I've just got like a snippet that's got like 4 characters in text expander. And all I got to do is say, hi, Amy. And then bing, like the whole response is there. Or people like, oh, where do I get a copy of your book? So I have like MYBK, and then that is my like snippet that's there to respond, right? So for me, like text expander is amazing. Lisa's like, oh my God, this is going to change my world. You can see her like going, oh my goodness, right? So I've got like snippets for everything, and you can use it for email, you can use it for your LinkedIn responses, but like if you've got something that you regularly, and you can use it on an iPhone, you can use it on an iPad. But for me to be able to like manage, so my hashtags are like, so I think, Louise, you'll probably avoid that whole, I think as you're copy and pasting it in answer to your question, like if you use my text expander for your core hashtags, you'll probably find that they come up better than if you copy and paste them in.
Yeah, because what I've noticed is when you're copying the link to then share that with someone, it picks up the first, I don't know, it's the first 2 or the first 3 hashtags that you put down the bottom of a post.
Yes.
Obviously, if you're using more hashtags, it's not going to pick up all of those in the URL.
No, it picks up the first 3. So whatever you want to get found for in indexing on Google and outside of LinkedIn, you want to make sure your first 3 hashtags are the ones that you are putting first, because that's what will be used in the indexing of that post.
Which means they're going to be more powerful and more searchable. Exactly. So Alexandra was just writing there and saying, do the hashtags embedded within the text, that you include the hashtag within the text rather than putting it at the bottom of the post? Does that still work?
Doesn't really make a difference. There's no difference between the being in the post or at the bottom. They've looked at things like that from a research perspective, and there was no difference between the two. I personally I prefer having it at the bottom. It just looks cleaner, but that's my preference. I might now and again put a hashtag somewhere in the body of the text, but for me, I prefer to have it like all in one place. So
that's really great. Thanks very much, Sam, for that. Now, some of the other questions we've had have been around formats and the types of content that you use, and we've had some questions before about use of video. You'd expect for more engagement to be around a video than sometimes a plain text post. Sometimes the combination works well, because if people aren't listening to the audio side of things, does it, so there's been a question that sometimes a plain text has reached thousands of viewers and and not many on video, and you'd have expected a slightly reverse of that. Have you got any views on content format and type and what works well?
Yeah, so again, coming back to the research, and there's a new tool I've also been using, which again wasn't available, or I didn't really use when I last spoke with you guys. So let me just get the link for you to be able to share it with you. And what I'll probably do is I'll log into my account so you can see what this does. Let me just give you this here. Right, so there's a question about views versus comments. We'll cover all that in just a second. So this is an affiliate link, by the way. I'm a partner of these guys, so if you prefer not to use my affiliate link, then fine, it's cool. It's a tool called Shield Analytics. So I'm going to log you into my accounts, and then I'll share my screen with you. So Shield Analytics is going to give you, they do a free 10-day trial, so you can go in, log in, grab all your data, all of that stuff. And what Shield do is they give you a lot more analytics on your content than you get from normal LinkedIn. So let me just share my screen, and then I will show you what you get. Right, so you should see now on screen do you see on my screen now my yeah, okay.
I can, yeah.
So Shield basically, for you guys, if you want to geek out on content and what happens and everything else, first off, it gives you like a week view, 4-week view. You can go monthly, you can go yearly. So I can literally look year to date, or I can customize my dates and say, show me everything over the last year. It looks and it gives you your views over time, it gives you your comments, and it also gives you what's called an engagement rate. So that's looking at, like, of the total number of people in my network, what percentage of my followers engaged with that post, etc. So it gives you a huge amount of data. So these are all the reports that you can pull. You can then look content piece by content piece. So I can go down to my own profile. I can look at my most recent posts, and it gives me a lot more data on each post. It shows me views, which you get from LinkedIn. It shows me reactions. It shows me comments. It shows me any shares, and it shows me my percentage engagement rate, which is a stat that LinkedIn doesn't give you. It also shows you how many hashtags were on that post, how many links were in there, things like that. And it allows you to basically tag all of your content. So I can tag these posts and say, well, this was a photo post, this was a text only post. So you can start to look at your themes and start to analyze everything going through. It looks at a heat map. It gives you your frequency that you're posting. It gives you like so much information, it's ridiculous. And it gives you your content statistics, averages, things like that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here, which I love. But it just gives you so much analytics on your content and allows you to start to really analyze everything that you're doing. So if you're not using Shield, I highly recommend it. It's flipping amazing. It's like, I think $29 a month for a business account, or you can have a solo account, I think, for $16 a month. But really, really awesome stats. And it will give you that kind of like what's working, what isn't. So it's different for everyone. Like the best type of post for most people, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Is Ruth already in? Because I'm seeing that she's in the waiting room. Should I admit her or not?
I've seen her come in a couple of times, but at the minute I think we're trying to mute.
That's fine. I'll just I have to get rid of her in order to stop sharing my screen.
Oh, okay.
I can. Hang on, no, I've got it. There we go. So Shield, if you're not using Shield, take the trial. One of the things I would recommend you do is go and take a free trial, even if you're not planning to buy it. I would then go and look at your last year or your last 6 months and run all the reports on the last 6 months. You can sort like your posts by highest number of views. You can literally go through everything and really get a picture as to how you've improved and where you've come from. But also it will give you kind of that picture on like what's working for me, because what works for you doesn't necessarily work for someone else, because you've all got different networks. But I will say that text only posts are still very high performing. Document posts are amazing and are very underrated and very underutilized. And if you're not using document posts, you're missing a massive trick. And that's where you upload like a PDF or a PowerPoint file, and LinkedIn turns it into this kind of carousel format. So if any of you saw like my 21 ideas for 2021 or any of my kind of highly valuable posts, I generally use a document post. They get like 5 times more views than any of my other posts do. And I've got the same network. It's just that because the algorithm is looking at something called dwell time.
Okay.
So how long is somebody staying on a post? And that determines how much visibility a post gets. So what you're trying to do with a piece of content is to get people to stop scrolling, and actually stick on your piece of content. So a video will do that if you're using like good graphics or branding around it, or if you're using subtitles. And if it's like you've got yourself set up in a good way, then a video will do that. But video views are only people that have watched it for 3 seconds or more. So it won't capture all views. It will just show you the people that have actually engaged. So your video views will always be less than your views on all normal content, because it's only the people that have watched it for 3 seconds or more. But text only and documents far outweigh all the other types of posts. If you follow the CEO of Shield, he posts stats like this all the time. His name is Andreas Johansson. I'll put his LinkedIn profile in the chat box here. Because he's got access to hundreds of thousands of people's analytics on LinkedIn, he's able to like document really well, like what the kind of things are going on for content. What he's worked out recently is that for most people, the amount of views that they average is normally 30% of the total following they have. So if you have 1,000 people connected to you or 1,000 followers, your average number of views is going to be about 300. But if you've got a network of 10,000 people, your average views is going to be 3,000. If you're performing higher than your average, then you're doing a good job on that piece of content. Let's put it that way.
That's a really useful stat. When you're talking about documents, are you talking about PDFs, any particular type of documents?
Yeah, so the most of the things that work well are usually PDFs or PowerPoint. So I would recommend using something like canva.com, where you can go in and just use a template, nicely branded, change it to your colors. It looks smart, it looks professional. The thing with a document post is you want to make it very like high level, bullet point, easy to consume. You don't want to put a lot of detail and a lot of text because it's too difficult to read on a screen. The great thing about PDFs is that people on their mobile can just click the button and download it, so they can capture it and save it into their phone. So if you create something, do make sure it's got your contact details and, you know, call to action and things in it, because when someone downloads it and they keep it, like, they'll remember that it's you. If you don't have anything in there that says who made it, then it will just end up on their phone and you won't have any reference to you or your branding or anything. So document posts, would it be helpful if I showed you how to create a document post and where?
Great, yeah, you know, if you've got time to do that, that'd be lovely.
Just 1 second, I'll just go to my normal LinkedIn. I've literally just finished a corporate training, so I've got like loads of slides, things open. Hang on, before I share my screen. Okay, so hopefully share. Right, so you should see on screen now, this is my normal news feed. So if you're going to create a document post, you go where you normally go to start a post. Up here you can see photo, video, event, or write article. You click on start a post, and in there you've got this little icon, which is where you can upload a file.
Okay,
so that's where you would choose, and you literally just choose a file from your desktop or wherever on your computer. So let's say I mean I'm not going to pick this one. Let me pick a I know, I'm just going to go to a random file. This is not relevant at all. I'm just going to, so you literally just going to show you what it looks like when you upload something. So I wouldn't recommend doing one of these because I know what this document is. It's quite it's quite wordy, so I wouldn't recommend one like this. But you can see it's a 2-page document. You can see if it came up on LinkedIn and it's very wordy, you can't really read it very well. But LinkedIn does this thing where it turns it into like a carousel.
Right, yes.
So if you had like, I'll show you ones that I've done before so you can see a better example. Post an activity, documents. So the most recent one I did, some of you might have seen it because I know most of you follow me, was this 21 ideas for your LinkedIn activity in 2021. So I created this in Canva. It took me like less than 15 minutes to do it. And I just literally high level bullet points, like here are 21 things that you could do this year to help you with LinkedIn. So it's designed, the way that it looks in turning the page, every click through to the next page is driving the algorithm crazy. So it's like every click, and if someone gets all the way to the end, even better because they're going through it. But imagine how much time each person is spending on this post if they're looking at a post like this. So the dwell time impacts how many people then view the post. So if you've done like, I mean, I normally recommend like 12 to 20 pages roughly if you're doing like a high value educational piece. So you guys could come up with like a top tips on something, or you could come up with like 10 ways for this, or, you know, whatever it is that you want to do property related. But you could do some very high level education in the form of a document. And at the end, I've got my little call to action, which is comment below, pick your top 3 to focus on which one stood out. So you can see here like 13,000 views of this one, lots of reactions. The 20 quotes that have kept me going through lockdown, 10,000 views. This one, 10 types of LinkedIn posts, 15,000 views. So, you know, all of them are getting kind of 5-figure.
Yeah.
But they're so easy to create. And if you're not really a Canva person, then just use PowerPoint and just upload some slides. This one here, I'll just show you. This was me doing a vision board workshop for my team, and I just uploaded the slides afterwards about...
And I'm assuming, because Amy's asking there about the optimal size, I'm assuming because there are LinkedIn templates on Canva that you would use one of those LinkedIn templates, or something else?
No, I would just use like I would use either slides like this one here, or I would use just go in and create a poster, but you just do more than one. You can just duplicate pages down, so you can pick a template and then just copy and paste the pages down. So The maximum size is 100 megs. So if you're going to upload a document, it has to be maximum. So you can't upload like a massive PowerPoint with loads of like fancy images and everything. But I would say 12 to 20 pages is a good length of a document, and just make sure it's got some kind of call to action in it.
Yeah. I mean, that would be really, because Helen was asking about that. So she's going to love the algorithm numbers thing. And
so mine's like got learn how, grab the book, link in the comments. So like it's, you can see you'll get a high number of reactions, but you need to call to action if you want comments. So
okay.
I ask people to pick their top 3, because I know then every comment's going to be at least 7 words. If they've got to pick 3 of them, they've got to type in 3. So you can see all the comments underneath, right? You see all the different, mine were this, and this, right? So it's kind of, so these document posts, hardly anyone uses them, and they do make you stand out in the newsfeed, because it's not just the same old that everyone else is doing.
Yeah, no, that's really useful stuff, and that certainly does answer the question about the types of content. I mean, there's new stuff coming in there all the time, so that's really useful. So part of the purpose of getting together today was also to review, because 12 months, not even quite 12 months, but a lot has happened in the LinkedIn world. We've had LinkedIn stories, LinkedIn lives, events pages, because there was the events pages just as you was looking through your profile, you could see the events pages. Now, it'd be interesting to hear how this has been rolled out, what the penetration is for all of these now within the UK. I think everybody has events pages now, don't they?
Yeah, everyone has events pages. I've only just started using them. I'm going to be running like a free 90-minute webinar, not webinar, but like a workshop every month. And I'm driving traffic to it through LinkedIn. So I've actually only just set up my first kind of events page, but I've already had people registering for it. The key thing is, if you are going to use like a booking link or a registration page, you'll get a lot of people clicking on to say I'm going. Because it comes up in their same place that they receive their connection notifications. So sometimes people click on it thinking they're accepting a person when they're actually registering for an event, and they don't always realize that they've actually done that. But what works best is like an individual follow-up. So if you'll see who's said, yes, I'm going, but I would also individually message them to make sure that they know how to actually register. If you are using like an Eventbrite page, or you're using something where they have to go and actually put their details in just by clicking I'm going on an event it's kind of like the Facebook thing, like, you say you're going, but you don't always go, right? So I just have that diligence with the follow-up piece in terms of making sure. But obviously LinkedIn is promoting heavily the events, and they are putting them above people you may know, and they are advertising, it goes on your profile that you're hosting an event. I haven't even started. And the great thing is you can invite your first degree connections. So you can create an event and then push out an invitation to 500 people saying, would you like to come to my event? So I do think it's a good feature. I think they've got a bit of a way to go on like making it like kind of properly refined. But to be able to put out online events, your Property Sisters events, all of those, I think it's a really strong feature that is here to stay. The next feature that is not available to everyone, that I highly recommend that you guys jump on when you get it, is LinkedIn newsletters.
Yes.
I don't know how many of you have subscribed to my newsletter, but Amy has, of course. So I got the feature, I think probably about 6 months ago, but I didn't know I had it, because they don't like message you and tell you you've got it. I just stumbled across it in my in the same place that I write articles. So you can go and check whether you have it or not, because you can go write an article and then at the top it will say publish a newsletter. So I was like, and I had this little message down the bottom saying this is in beta test mode. As far as I know, there's about 10,000 people in the world that currently have it from like 750 million LinkedIn profiles. So I'm feeling quite lucky to have got access to it early, but I'm absolutely flabbergasted at how much open rate this newsletter gets. So I thought my goal was to get to like 10,000 subscribers within a year, and I've only put 4 newsletters out and it's at like 6,500 subscribers already, which is bonkers really. But the good thing about newsletters is that essentially you're pushing out a newsletter to people who have signed up for it, but they get the notification in the email address that they use for all their LinkedIn notifications. you know how most people, when you have like a newsletter or an opt-in list, like they use like a spam one, or they use one that they don't check very often to not avoid clogging up their inbox. You can't avoid a LinkedIn newsletter hitting your inbox because it's coming to the same place you get your LinkedIn notifications. So when I publish a newsletter, all 6,000 subscribers get a notification bell in the top of LinkedIn saying Sam's published a newsletter, and everyone gets it that's subscribed. And then they all get an email as well saying, here's Sam's latest newsletter. So within about a 24-hour period, like more than half of the people subscribed have viewed it and opened it and read it. And I'm like, that's staggering numbers.
It is.
Like
that's hugely impressive.
It's ridiculous. I'm like, why did I not start doing this sooner? First off, you can choose to publish bi-weekly or weekly or monthly. I currently do bi-weekly, but they don't really check on you because I sometimes skip a week and forget that I'm supposed to have done one. So I'm due to do a couple in March, but just like the ability to be able to like push out a newsletter to people who actually want to hear from you is like staggering. We're picking up so much business from that newsletter because I'm obviously saying, you know, I'm putting Leanne's articles in there and putting like a bit of call to action, but it's not really a sales document. It's just designed to, you know, to focus on what I'm up to and things like that. So it's called Rathling's Ramblings. So if you're not subscribed, just go to my LinkedIn profile and you'll see some of the latest versions of the newsletter there, and you just hit subscribe in the top. But I'm just staggered. Like, it's such a great feature, but it will be coming out to all members of LinkedIn soon. I just don't know what the timeline is.
Yeah. Okay. So
but be an early adopter when you get it. Like, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. Just before coming on to the other things, so on the events pages, you say I haven't quite got there yet. So presumably the people who have signed up and said, oh, you know, I'm gonna attend that event, they wouldn't get automated.
They would, but if you've got like if they have to go register to attend, for example, like so in other words, if you've got like a Zoom link, or because you don't want to put like your personal Zoom and all, like. Yes. So if they've got to go somewhere to register to say I'm coming, for example, then there is a link inside the event page to say booking link here, but people will click on and say, yes, I'm coming on LinkedIn, and you'll get a notification say you've got someone attending.
Yep.
But then you look at that list compared to your actual registration list, and a lot of them haven't translated from I'm going on LinkedIn to actually booking online to say I'm coming.
Right. Okay.
So you need to have that diligence for that follow-up piece to basically say to everyone that has, drop them a little message. Thanks for saying that you're coming to the event. Just in case you haven't seen it, here's the booking link for easy reference. And then you just got that extra follow-up piece in there.
That's really useful. Thanks for that, Sam. And then just the other developments, you know, in the States, there's LinkedIn Stories, LinkedIn Lives, and do you know what the take up or how much it's been rolled out in the UK? Because not everyone has.
Everyone at this stage in the UK should have stories, so that should have been rolled out to everyone. I'm not using them massively. I did test it for a bit in the beginning. They are making some changes to it now, so they are allowing you to put links and things like that into stories, and you can message people directly that you see in a story. So there are some benefits to doing it. I have had some good traction from doing stories, but I'm just not in the habit because I don't hang out on Facebook and Instagram. So stories has never really been my thing. Yeah. But I try and do like one story a week, something like that. There's the same as other platforms. They're up for 24 hours. You know, if you mess something up, it's fine. It's gone again the next day. But I tend to use it more for pictures and putting stickers and just what I'm up to and things. But obviously in lockdown, there's not much going on. I think once I'm out and about a bit more, I'll probably use stories more because it'll be more exciting than just, oh, another Zoom call.
Yeah.
So I think once I'm out and about more, I'll probably use it more for stories. But everyone should have stories now in the UK.
Okay. And then on the lives, because I applied for it and they said, oh, you just have to wait for the rollout.
So LinkedIn Live, I saw an interview this week with the product manager for LinkedIn Live, and she basically was saying there's 3 main criteria that you have to meet in order to qualify. So her first thing was that you need to have a strong following on the LinkedIn platform. So she didn't say specifically, but I've heard on the grapevine it's about 10,000 plus. So if you're at a low number of connections, you're not going to be one of the first in the queue. It's not that you won't ever get it. It's just that you wouldn't be front of the queue if you were applying. The second thing was you need to be doing video both on LinkedIn, but also outside of LinkedIn in a live format somewhere else. So if you're not currently doing lots of lives on Facebook or, you know, Instagram or YouTube or anywhere else that you could do live, they want to see you in action in live videos outside of the LinkedIn platform, because I don't just want to spam the whole newsfeed with like people that are not used to doing videos. And the third thing is that she said, consider it like college applications in the States. Basically, you apply once for one semester, and if you don't get in, like, you don't then bombard them the next day and try and apply again the next day. You have to wait to the fall, to the next semester, when you can maybe reapply. So I know some people that have taken 5, 6, 7 attempts to actually get it. So don't give up if you get rejected the first time. Just realize that you're just not in the applications for that semester. So that was her analogy for applying for LinkedIn Live. So yes, it will eventually be rolled out to everyone. You do need to have a third-party streaming service like Restream or StreamYard or those kind of platforms in order to use it. But and you need to be committed and willing to do video for longer than 15 minutes. If you are going to do a live, it needs to be like minimum 15 minutes if you're going to do it. So they are quite picky at the moment about who they're giving it to for obvious reasons. But those are the kind of things. I'll try and dig out the interview. I sent it to my team this week, so I'll try and dig out the interview with her.
That'd be brilliant. So they're actually checking up on whether you're using lives on other platforms.
Oh yeah, because when you apply, you have to put a link. You have to say, you have to put a link to one that you've done recently. So they are looking at whether or not you have. And she's like, we are getting there. We're getting faster at getting through applications, but don't give up if you get rejected once. Like, you know, don't apply the next day, but like wait a couple of months and then do it again and apply again. I still don't have it, and I have like 23,000 followers, and I'm a LinkedIn expert, and they still haven't given it to me. So like,
okay, so there's a way to go. There's a way to go yet. So
yes, so I wouldn't. I mean, I am going to apply again, but I don't do that much live video either. So, and I'm going to increase how much video I'm doing in LinkedIn anyway, because that will help my case too. But yeah. If you've not got like a lot of following right now, there's no point in trying to apply right now. You're just better off waiting until later on.
Okay. All right. And then anything else in the pipeline that you know? I mean, there's loads there. I'm not sure
so much, honestly. Like I've obviously got my online course, which I recorded at the start of lockdown. And in my course, I had like 4 to 5 different types of LinkedIn posts. And like now there's 12. Like in 1 year, they've literally gone from like having hardly any types of posts to now having so many. Like Events has rolled out polls. Polls is the other one if you're not using polls. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Polls, stories, LinkedIn Live. Like there's so many new features, newsletters. Like there's so many new things. So it's great. Like LinkedIn has got a new CEO, and you know the previous one stepped down. So that will probably be something to do with it, like the speed at which they are churning out new features. Obviously, lockdown has massively helped their business as well, which means they've got more to play with. But I think the key thing with any of these things is just kind of be on top of them, like be an early adopter of anything new that comes. They do roll out things quite slowly compared to the other platforms. They don't just go all in. They go kind of beta test it. You know, I'm in a group, for example, on LinkedIn, invited by LinkedIn about stories. So they've like selected a whole bunch of people. I'm like, we need a group and we want to get your feedback. So they're constantly asking in the community feedback. I've just been asked actually yesterday by LinkedIn to come and be a part of their, just to get, I haven't even read the email yet, but I was like, oh, that's new. So for example, like yesterday, they've asked me to, we're inviting you for a 5-minute online survey to find participants for an upcoming video conference research study with the goal of improving LinkedIn's products and services. So that to me says they're starting to think about how do we incorporate video, like video meetings within, within the environment, right? So there's all new stuff going on all the time. So if you think about like how, yeah, exactly, like Zoom. So at the minute you can set up a direct Zoom meeting or a direct Teams meeting directly in Messages, but imagine it almost being like, integrating video conferencing into LinkedIn. Like they're probably looking at things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they start doing more with audio, especially since Clubhouse came out. So I wouldn't be surprised if they start introducing audio posts or use of audio in other ways other than just sending a voice message. So these are all kind of my predictions, but I don't have timelines on any of them. But I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see some of that happening.
Sounds as though it's a really dynamic new chief executive. It sounds though
he's awesome. I really, if you're not following him, like go follow him. And follow the product managers as well. Like they're all on LinkedIn. They're actively commenting. They're actively listening for ideas and actively listening for, to the community. So don't be afraid to connect with and follow like product managers, the VP of product marketing, CEO, like they're always posting and they're very active in the community. So it's good to be connected with them.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions that I've got here, and I'll just check the chat box to sort of see if there's some in there from the Property Sisters. Trending, we have this big thing on trending. What helps a post trend? I don't know whether that will have changed at all.
There's been less. I've been seeing a lot less of the whole you're trending. What I'm seeing now is not you're trending, but you have one of the highest engagement posts on LinkedIn, which I think is what was trending before. So if you get a notification, congratulations, your post is one of the top % most engaged posts. I think they've shifted from your post is trending to you've now got a strong engagement. So I think they're trying to kind of align the language, I should say, because ultimately you want engagement happening on a post. So again, it comes back to hashtags. Like if a post starts getting more traction, it's usually going to go out to more people that are following that hashtag. It's going to go out to more people in your network. So it's just about focusing on that first couple of hours. And every time you create a piece of content, you want to make sure that ideally that the post is going for like 2.5-3 weeks, and you can keep it going as long as it's getting engagement. Yeah, Amy, your questions, Andreas. Andreas is his name. Let me get his profile for you. Hold on. The CEO of Shield Analytics. Now, I don't normally do this, but I am going to shout out one of my fellow LinkedIn experts who has a podcast about LinkedIn, and he recently interviewed Andreas, and there's a 2-part podcast which is well worth listening to. Let me get Andreas's profile. Yes, Andreas Jonsson is his name, and I'll grab his profile link. Here he is. If you are going to connect with him or I'd follow his content anyway, but if you're going to connect, just mention me when you do.
So I think that, oh no, you put it in there. Yes, lovely.
So mention my name when you connect. Obviously, if you do sign up for a free trial, he'll know it's come from me anyway, but like it's a phenomenal. But his posts are amazing about personal branding. Like he's flipping amazing on LinkedIn. So definitely follow what he's doing. And if you want to, Mark Williams is the he's called Mr. LinkedIn. You're recording this. Mr. LinkedIn, go have a look at his podcast where he's interviewed Andreas, because it's like really fascinating insights from Andreas. So, but I don't normally recommend other like podcasts and stuff, but that is a cracker. No. So go and listen to that if you want more help on personal brand and what's going on with data and what works, what doesn't work.
That sounds great. I've just got a question here on personal business versus personal page. There we go. That's an amalgamation. Personal page.
Personal.
Sam, I think she may well have come in. But what tips would you give to a small business? Because it's enough as it is. Being on a number of different social media platforms, just even getting LinkedIn right. I mean, the plethora of things that you've talked about that have happened in the last 12 months and things that are coming up as well. There's so much to stay on top of. So if you've got a personal profile page and the business, and it's sort of diluting your effort, what tips would you give to a small business about a business page and the role that it plays?
So I personally, my opinion, if your business is less than 50 staff, is to focus on building your personal profile and your personal brand. Have a company page so that someone can go check you out if they want to go check out your company, and make sure that it looks the part. But there is no point in spending time and effort and energy on posting on a company page when you'll get 10 times more reach by posting on your personal profile. So I have a company page. My team's growing. I do have a company page. It's got more than 1,000 followers, but I get barely any engagement when I post there. I might post once or twice a week, but like the reach that you get over there is so minimal. It's much more kind of geared towards large corporate, bigger businesses. So, as you say, Louise, very rightly, it's hard enough to keep on top of everything as it is. And most people aren't posting consistently on their normal LinkedIn newsfeed, let alone trying to think about doing it on their company page as well. So what I tend to do to make it easy on myself, if you do have one, I tend to reshare something I've posted on my personal page onto my company page, so I'm not having to think about it. And it might be like one post a week I'll just reshare across and be like, oh, our founder Sam Rathling did this week or whatever. But it's me writing it. It's just so that something's going up there. Primarily because I'm working a lot more now with corporates, and they'd expect me to have a corporate page. That's the only reason I've got my company page going. Because I teach corporate pages and company pages, and I need to be on top of what goes on in them, because I teach companies and marketing teams how to do that. But that's the only reason. For you guys, like if you're running a small business, less than 50 staff, I would really focus on building your personal brand only.
Okay. So I'm just looking through some of the questions here, but I think you answered it. It was one from Bushra about, is there an official way to get your own hashtag? I think it's just to start using it.
You literally just start using it, Bushra. So you just pick a hashtag, and then you just, the next post you put out, I would use it, and I would go back and edit all your previous posts and put your personal hashtag into them as well. So that if someone does start following it, they also see everything you've previously done. So definitely edit and go back in and put your personal hashtag in. So no, you don't have to ask anyone's permission. You don't have to register it anyway. You literally just start using one on a post. And if people are following you and they like what you're doing, they'll follow the hashtag anyway. So just, you know, it will start to grow.
Okay. And I think we may well have, yeah, I've got here a question from Kieran. Are views just as important as comments? I think you probably answered that.
Yeah, so comments by far outweigh everything. So you want to try and drive comments on a post. Views are important. Obviously, comments drive views. So you've got reactions, you've got comments, and you've got views. So the most important thing on a post is to get lots of comments, because reactions are okay, but like you'll get more traction on the algorithm from getting lots of comments. So comment back to people's comments. So every time you get a comment, reply with 7 words at least, and ideally ask a question if you can, like if it makes sense to ask a question to their comment, because they'll reply underneath and then you'll start a whole conversation going on. So then you'll get more and more traction in the algorithm. The views are driven largely by how much traction that post is getting. So if you get a lot of comments and good reactions, then ultimately your views are going to go up massively on that post. And initially it's kind of robots that are checking the post, like the algorithm is checking it, but if it gets to a certain point where it goes viral, like a human eye from LinkedIn will also look at it and decide whether to put it out to more people. So there's like 3 stages of whether or not your post goes further than like just a few people. So
okay.
But yeah, so in the beginning, comments, you want to try and drive comments.
Okay, so we've got some more questions here from B. Are hashtags picked up from a shared post, or do we need to rewrite them or add them again?
Sharing posts won't really get you a lot of traction. So if you're sharing something, I would if you're sharing something from your personal page to your company page, I would rewrite them in the share. But shares are never going to get you very much visibility, because LinkedIn's looking for you to be an original content creator. So sharing someone else's work or someone else's post or whatever is really lovely for that person, but you will not get you'll get tumbleweed on a shared post because you didn't create it. So LinkedIn rewards you for being an original content creator. And remember guys, there's like 750 million profiles on LinkedIn and only 3 million people like post regularly. Like, it's ridiculous. So there are 9 billion impressions on LinkedIn a week of content, and it's shared by 3 million people. I think it's bonkers.
Yeah. Okay.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's just and we're just a tiny part of that, aren't we, here in the UK? I mean, in terms of the number of users globally or worldwide. A question here from Lorraine: is it frowned upon to save your posts to featured articles so that you don't lose that post?
Are you talking about saving them on your featured section on your profile? She's
got to featured articles. I'm not quite sure.
So you can, it's a great question. I would highly recommend that your best posts and your best articles, you're featuring them on your profile. So if you do a piece of good content that's like really got good traction or like build your credibility quite well. So I recently had somebody email me saying they'd just landed a £1.2 million deal through LinkedIn. Happy days. I literally asked him, could I share it? I didn't share the name of the person, but I took a screenshot of the email, and like, that's a pretty decent, like, you know, piece of business from LinkedIn, from learning from me. So I've created that as a piece of content, and now it's one of the first things you see when you go to my profile. So it's featured as a post, but I also feature my articles and things like that. So I would, yes, definitely recommend it. You can save your own posts. So you can get to all your posts that you've historically created. You don't need to save them. You just go to the top right hand corner where it says me, and you go to posts and activities, and you'll see all of your posts you've ever created there. So you don't need to really save your own for your own sake. It's more featuring the ones that have done pretty well or that build your credibility and put them on your profile.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. And a question here from Dorothy: difference between following versus connecting with a person. I mean, that's partly to do with the limitations on connections, isn't it?
Not really. So you can set your profile just to follow only if you want to. So even if you haven't hit the 30,000 connection limit and you want to just be followed and not be connected with, you can set your privacy settings to just be follow only. There are some experts that recommend doing that. I personally don't. Like, I want people to connect with me because I want to have that conversation. So the followers are basically people that are just following your content. Connections are people you're connected with. You'll know when you're starting to get influence on LinkedIn when your followers far outweigh your connections. So when you connect with someone, they automatically become a follower. So most people have roughly the same amount of followers as they do connections. So if you've got 1,000 connections, you'll probably have in the region of 1,000 followers. I have more followers than I have connections because some people just want to follow me for my content and my tips and things like that, but they aren't connected to me, which is fine by me. When you hit 30,000 connections, though, you cannot have any more connections, and therefore you can only follow someone. So some of the big kind of business personalities, politicians, you know, people that are well known, celebrities, like they only have the follow button. You can't connect with them because they've reached their maximum number of connections. So you can set up your profile if you want, though, to just be follow. If you want to have a month of just collecting followers, and those people will see your content because they're following you, then just set your profile to say follow only. If you don't want to be connected with by people, you could try that for a month and see how you go. I personally want people to connect with me and I want to have conversations, so I don't have it set to just follow.
Yeah, but you can, even if someone has it set for just follow, you can still connect.
You can still connect with them. You just click on the dot and then go down to connect, but most people don't know that, but yes, you can. So
okay, now there's a question here from Lisa, and I think so Lisa's asking, is it worth paying for LinkedIn Premium? But I think you have a view between this and Sales Navigator, don't you?
Yeah, so I love Sales Navigator as a tool. I think it's phenomenal. I'm training a sales team at the minute. They've had licenses for months and months and spent a fortune on them. And like now they're going, oh my God, this is amazing. But they never knew like how to unlock it. So for most people, small business, doing LinkedIn, you can pretty much do what you need to do on the free version of LinkedIn. Premium is like the next step up, which only really gives you like who's viewed your profile last 90 days, everybody. And it also gives you like a few in-mails, but I don't recommend using them anyway. And it gives you like a few extra things, but it's really not worth paying for. If you're going to invest in LinkedIn, then invest in Sales Navigator and get properly trained on how to use Sales Navigator properly. Because if you're serious about prospecting, serious about like engaging with the right types of people, like Sales Navigator is phenomenal, but learn how to use LinkedIn on the free version before you go paying for it, and start getting money out of LinkedIn before you start putting it back into LinkedIn. Let's put it that way. Most people can use it free without paying.
Yeah, but you get better search capability, don't you, with Sales Navigator?
Much more filters, much more searches, unlimited ability to search. So you don't get these caps and limits that you get put on you when you're using the free version. You can save all your Boolean searches. You can create lists of prospects. So Leanne, who's my sales manager, she'll go in and she'll build a list of like 400 prospects that she's going to prospect that month. And she'll literally it takes her 25 minutes a day to prospect her batch of people for the day, because they're already saved. They're in a list. They're all sitting there, and she's not got to spend she hasn't got to run her searches, and it's just so much easier but if you're not in a pure business development role and you're wearing lots of hats and you're doing lots of different things in your business, unless you've got like a dedicated, if you are purely responsible for business development, you need business like now, then like it's a great tool. You can take a trial for 30 days if you want to try it out. You don't have to, commit to anything. Just be careful if you do take a trial, because they automatically subscribe you to the annual membership plan. And if you forget to cancel it, they'll wipe £800 off your credit card. Yeah. So put it to monthly if you're going to take a trial, so that it only takes a monthly payment if you do forget.
That's a good tip. Just on the paid for theme, what's your view on LinkedIn adverts and advertising?
Oh, I don't know anyone that's making them work. Seriously, like they're super compared to other forms of ads, like they're way more expensive. If you follow what I teach in the book and social selling strategies and everything, you wouldn't ever need to pay LinkedIn for ads. Like honestly, like they're ridiculously expensive, and I don't know anyone that is making them work. Any business, big, small, tiny, large corporates, like none of them.
Okay.
Not worth paying for, in my opinion, if you know how to do social selling the right way.
Yeah. Okay. So I think Goodness me, I wasn't sure that we were going to cover all of the questions that I had, let alone what's been coming up in the chat box. That's just been amazing, the amount of ground we've covered. With the sort of the level of granularity that you give has just been superb. So there's lots of wonderful comments in there. How wonderful
Thank
it
you,
is,
ladies.
amazing.
Thanks for having me back, Louise.
Yeah, no, well, it was great to do a follow-up session after your session there with Amy. So that's been brilliant. Yes, I think actually we've probably covered all the, it doesn't seem to be any more questions popping up in that box there. So that has been brilliant. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, just lots of thank yous there, and
you're welcome. Lady.
Amazement and wonder at the amount of content that we've created there. So that's been brilliant. Thanks very much, Sam. And as I say, we'll put the link in to the previous session, which was a very different sort of session. I mean, that was very much, you know, how to do a lot of the stuff. But it's been so interesting hearing about all that's changed in LinkedIn. This new chief executive is obviously really driving.
No, we love him. He's great. I love it. Just a quick, can I do a quick plug, Louise, if that's all right?
Sure. I was going to say, because you take on people's accounts and use all the Sales Navigator in your courses and everything.
Yeah, so a couple of things. Well, I've actually just because at the minute, like my academy, which is my online course, which is like 40 training videos, 15 modules, we're just doing like a special of it's half price at the minute. So if you guys want to jump in on that, it'll only be running probably to the end of April. But it's normally 500 quid a month. It's now 250 a month. And that's a 6-month membership. So you get group mentoring with me, plus everything I know about LinkedIn and videos and all the rest of it. So it's half price right now. So
is there a link for that? Is there a link?
I'll send you a link. Our website literally is about to relaunch and all the landing pages and everything else. But just drop me a LinkedIn message if you want more details. I'll pop you a PDF and put you in touch with Leanne if you want to learn more about that. But the academy is like literally everything in my brain about LinkedIn. It's got like 9 modules on Sales Navigator. There's like 15 modules and 40 videos with about another 15 videos to go in. So there's tons of info in there and lots of mentoring for me as well. So
that's been absolutely brilliant. So thank you very much indeed, Sam. Thank you.
And the new book's coming out soon. Linked Outbound is coming out soon. I've got Linked Inbound and now I'm going to write Linked Outbound. So that's on its way. I'm heading to Portugal as soon as I can get out of this country to go and write and get my second book out. So
yes, because you've had lots of corporate bookings recently, haven't you? Sort of.
Yeah, so obviously I do a lot of work in like companies with big sales teams. So typically they'll come to me, they've already paid a lot to LinkedIn for Sales Navigator licenses. So they've got their sales team using LinkedIn, but not actually getting any results. And then I've also got a LinkedIn agency where my team prospect on behalf of companies. So we do outreach and all the messaging every day to get conversations started with people. So we do that as well. So yeah, that's my kind of 3 things that I do. So online training, outsourced pipeline building, and corporate training.
That's fabulous. Thanks again, Sam. I thank you. It's been superb.
You're welcome, Louise. Thanks for having me. Bye, ladies. Have a good day. See you all soon, hopefully at a real event one day. Very soon.
Yes. I think I've stopped recording there. I just want to make sure.
Hang on one second.
Just want to make sure I've captured all the stuff in the chat box here.
I think it's still recording at the minute. It says.
I think it's down. Oh no, it's not. Okay, pause. Stop recording. There we go. Recording paused, and then it will download. I'm just going to capture everything.
It will download once you close the Zoom, Louise. It will.
Yeah, this isn't my account. This is someone else's account. So I just want to make sure it doesn't fall between the 2 stools. I think I've got the links that you gave and everybody else's stuff in there. Let me just see if I can pull back up, see whoever's still out there. We've still got a few people there, but yeah, no, that's brilliant. Thanks very much, Sam. I'm amazed that you found time to squeeze it in for us, actually.
I know, I literally went from I'm training a team they've got teams in America, all over Europe, and they log in, the guys in the States, one stays up till 2 a.m. and then 2 guys get up at 4 a.m. to come on my sessions. So I do a corporate training in the mornings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I do 90 minutes every Tuesday and Thursday with them for about 12 weeks, just to kind of really deep dive with them. I would normally just go into their office and spend 2 days with them and just train them. But at the minute it's breaking it all down into little Zoom sessions and things. So yeah, so that's quite a big piece of work. It's like a pilot for 20 and then they're going to roll it out to 200 people. So
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. Do you still in contact with BBB? Because that's where I came across you first of all. Yeah.
Yeah, Tracy and Georgia are a client. We prospect for them. We fill their webinars through LinkedIn lead generation, and like they've been a client for donkey's years. And yeah, no, I'm still in touch with the guys, and we work together regular basis. So yeah, absolutely.